Lego Star Wars. What a game. It's like a third parent to me. Sometimes when I can't sleep at night, I play all of the death sounds on loop and it just warms me up inside. I usually produce around 25 milligrams of melatonin per death sound that I hear, but what completely counters this effect and wakes me right back up are the intrusive thoughts of the Lego Star Wars mobile ports. By the way, I know I haven't really been active recently aside from the occasional Instagram or Twitter post, but I am here now, uploading this video, and I'm uploading more videos. I'm working on more, and the only reason why I'm bringing this up right now is so that I could start this whole sentence by saying I occasionally post to Instagram and Twitter, because those are websites you can follow me on. Anyway, I've already survived the 2 Lego Star Wars Game Boy Advance games and the Lego Star Wars 2 DS game. So now it's time for the big boy. Lego Star Wars, the Complete Saga for the Nintendo DS. Alright, let's just get right into this. So, the game starts off in the cantina, who would have thought, and right off the bat, or right off the lightsaber blade, it's a huge improvement over the previous installments for the handheld devices. Everything controls nicely, the characters have weight to them, it's a promising start. First up, we have Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Level 1, Negotiations. The first level of LEGO Star Wars has always felt like a loving kiss to my forehead. I can't help but get lost in the nostalgic music and visuals that await me every time I walk through that little door. So does the DS version butcher everything? Well, right off the lightsaber blade, the cutscenes are incredible. These are the best handheld LEGO Star Wars cutscenes since those slideshows that were in the first game on the Game Boy Advance. As for the actual level, yeah, I think they did a pretty good job recreating everything. It feels like the original, but if someone took a shit on it. But not like a giant shit, just like a normal size shit. And like it's a healthy one too. Like the person who took the shit has like a really good diet and they take good care of their body, but like it's still shit. Maybe that's a bit harsh. I'm not trying to be mean here. It is just a DS port after all, and since it's making huge improvements over the previous DS installment, I can only really praise it. This game actually skips over the whole Jar Jar level that comes after the first level, and it's because this game has 5 levels per episode rather than 6, so it's kind of trying to cut and cram things a bit. It's doing its best, trying to cut a few corners, that's okay. Levels that have more than 2 characters in them are funny because the game only allows you to have 2 characters on screen at one time, so whenever you encounter more characters that join your roster partway through the level, they just kind of get sucked into the corner of the screen. Like they stand in place like mannequins and then you just kind of vacuum them up. Okay, let's talk about the pod race. My experience with the pod race was very interesting because I captured the footage through an emulator because that's just the easiest way to capture footage from a DS game and also stream it, because I actually streamed the footage of this game when I played it back in March of last year. I was supposed to make this video almost a full year ago. Anyway, so the way I had the emulator set up was like there were 2 screens, so the top DS screen and the bottom DS screen were side by side, because that way they could be bigger on my computer monitor, but like if I had them on top of each other, they'd be like pretty small, and I just didn't really want to play like that. And I already had it set up for the stream so that like blah blah blah. The thing with ship levels in this game is that your ship kind of stays on the bottom screen, and then you use the top screen as, like, they combine to make one tall vertical screen, so you have a lot of headroom so that you can kind of see where you're going with the ship, which makes sense on the actual DS console, but I, of course, was playing the game illegally. Having to keep looking left and right to see the top and bottom halves of a vertical screen was a pain in the ass, and I may or may not have died a little bit here and there. Okay, maybe I died a lot. I actually didn't even end up winning the pod race at all. If you suck enough, the game will just let you move on. Like, if you just keep losing over and over again, the game, it just moves you on. It's like, you suck, we know you suck a lot, and look at me, I suck a lot. I just can't stop sucking. So anyway, retake Theed Palace, blah blah blah. This level's just really long and boring like the console version. Blah blah blee blue blah blah. Alright, now, at the end of episode 1, we have the Darth Maul level. I'm gonna be honest, using the Force is kind of fucked. If you hold the physical button on your system to use the Force, you move very slowly. But if you shake this little ball on the touchscreen, you actually move faster than a snail. I guess it's like the developer's weird way of justifying the touch controls, because the game doesn't really get a lot of use out of them, but like, it clearly wants to. It's a little bit annoying because it kind of slows down the pacing of the game, since you don't really need the stylus to play otherwise. Like, if you're in the middle of combat and there's a bunch of chaos going on around you, you need to use the Force on something really quick. It's just kind of annoying to have to take the stylus out and shake a little ball on the screen. It's just, you know, it's overwhelming. It ruins your whole day and night, and it ruins the next day. It just ruins everything for you. Going into Attack of the Clones, I'm pretty satisfied with everything I'm seeing so far. I'm having what you might call fun. Levels like Discovery on Kamino are important to me for them to get right, because it's all about the atmosphere. Discovery on Kamino is a pretty tame, easy level, but it's the amazing atmosphere of the music and colors and gorgeous location that make it it makes it one of my favorite levels in the entire game. The vibes are correct. This game just gets it all right, and it brings the player through a really enjoyable level, and then Obi-Wan does this little dance, and Jango's turned on and drops his helmet and drops his pants. Same thing goes for the Droid Factory level. I just want to explore this little world, take it all in, feel immersed. The game delivers. One of the most important things for this game to get right is the combat. In the previous handheld installments, the lightsaber combat was very messy. You never locked onto an enemy, you just kind of swung around until you hit something, and your character just felt so weightless, and it was all very poopy, to say the least. Lots of poop. Lots of poop. Very poopy indeed. This game does the best job taking the combat system from the console version and making it work. You get to do flips and slams and smacks and whacks and blocks and clocks. It's so good. We really didn't deserve any of this. By the way, look what level's here. Gunship Cavalry, blah blah blee blue blah blah. That was very poopy. So everything's going great for the lightsaber combat system until this fucking prick shows up and starts flying around like a lemur on acid. If you thought Yoda was hard to use on the console version, you might as well just break your DS now. I don't know, at least they left his iconic death sound in. The first level of episode 3 is basically just blowing things up and then blowing things up with torpedoes, and then it ends. I definitely prefer the auto-scrolling level from the console version. It has a lot of charm to it that's lost here with this more generic ship level in its place. And then it crams the entire second level from the console version into the closing cutscene. You just watch Anakin cut Count Dooku's head off and then you move on. They do, however, have the General Grievous boss fight level, which is pretty similar to the console version. It's about what you'd expect. For some reason, you play as Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan Kenobi though, which is really weird because there is a Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan Kenobi in the game. You play as him in the last 2 levels of episode 3. So like, what the fuck are they trying to pull here? I want my money back! The Kashyyyk level is hell. You need to play as Yoda in it. What the fuck? fuck is wrong with this guy? Alright, now here's the level you've all been waiting to see. Darth Vader. You make your way through a series of high-speed, fast-paced, quickly moving, swift-tempoed parkour challenges, followed by an intense, emotional battle to the death between our beloved Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. It truly hurt me to partake in this fight, but I did what I must. I took on Anakin, and I did flips, I did slams, I did smacks and whacks, I did blocks and clocks, and finally, just as the last piece of the stage was collapsing into the lava surrounding us, I delivered my final blow and... Get in. What? What the fuck? The original trilogy. After having already played the LEGO Star Wars 2 game for DS, I was interested to see how different the levels would be in this game. They are different. When you fire your blaster in this game, it targets enemies like in the console versions. You don't need to angle yourself to perfectly face your enemy in order to hit them. Your blaster will lock onto them if it's close enough. This makes blaster fights more fun and playable. In the other version, you basically just had to keep spinning around until you hit something. I love how happy he looks to be choked. He's really enjoying that. A New Hope has always been my favorite of the original trilogy levels. I remember just loving it as a kid, and I'm very nostalgic for playing the levels on the GameCube on LEGO Star Wars 2. The other episodes are dear to me as well, but there's something about the episode 4 levels that just warms me up like a delicious cup of hot water. Through the Junlin Wastes and Mos Eisley Spaceport are great levels with unique atmosphere, and that's even more true for the Death Star levels. One aspect of this game I kinda like is that you need to do a little puzzle in order to activate the various electrical panels that trigger doors and stuff. In the console version, you just switch to the right character and go beep boop and then they open. But in this version, you gotta make use out of the touchscreen and open them that way. And it's just nice to see another little touchscreen use aside from shaking a force ball. By the way, this game just has one really long Death Star level where you rescue Princess Leia and then escape all in one go. It's really, 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 really crazy. Oh look, another ship level that plays the same way as all the other ones. Just in case you can't tell, I'm really not a fan of the ship levels in this game. I find them boring and repetitive, and dare I say, boring. I really love that they play the Junlin Wastes, Tusken Raiders, Sand People, Scary Time music over this scene. Very bold artistic decision, I must say. So, the Hoth battle level does have something going for it, with the tow cable attacking stuff. You have to use the touchscreen to execute these attacks, which makes sense. They are like kinda spinny things, you know, you gotta spin around things, spin around and do spinny. And that is all I have to say about that level. Escape from Echo Base is another level I've always loved for its music and atmosphere. But this version of the game just didn't really do it justice. The colors are off, the music is different, and the whole design of the level feels very claustrophobic, which kind of makes sense considering what the location is, but I do really like how big and open the Echo Base feels in the console version. Look, they tried something different and it just didn't work for me. But, you know, I'm glad they... One level the other ports did a terrible job with was the Millennium Falcon asteroid field one. In this version, the level does follow the same ship level conventions you see throughout the entire game, but it's undeniably a better level than the other pieces of poopy doopy the previous mobile versions possessed. Poopy doopy. The Dagobah level's pretty awesome. Yoda looks so goofy in the cutscenes. Sort of like the long Death Star level in A New Hope. Here we have a long Cloud City level that switches between different groups of characters several times. After Han is put into the carbonite freeze, you play as Leo, Landa, and Chewie up until the point where Boba Fett flies away with him. Except when you get outside, he's already floating around in the air, so you have to walk around until the cutscene is activated. After that, we cut to Luke and R2-D2 and go through that whole section of the game where he's dueling Darth Vader, and then he falls through the whole thing, and then he hangs on this thing, and then we cut back to the other people again and play the rest of the level while Luke just waits for them. Moving into Return of the Jedi, Jabba's Palace is another long level, where they basically just took Jabba's Palace and the Sarlacc Pit levels and combined them into one big one. They are pretty faithful recreations of the console versions, the only huge difference being the omission of the Rancor boss fight. I guess it was too scary, so they cut it out. The next level is Speeder Showdown, and it is just, you know, like... And it's so, it's just, cause it's like, so, it's like a, so, it's, so, the Battle of Endor. I've never been a big fan of this level on the console version, so I wasn't really a big fan of the downgraded DS version either. It's just a long level that I don't really care for. I've never really been a big fan of Endor in general. Like, in Return of the Jedi, I just find it's kind of like a bland location. It's just a big forest. So I've just never really cared for the Endor levels in the games. Jedi Destiny is a fun level. It's a big boss battle. You got the Emperor, Mr. Sheev over here, and it's just like the console version. You go around fighting him in different locations, and it's a good time. If you like the combat in the game, it's just a good little bit of fun time. I also just love listening to the Emperor's pain sounds. Finally, to top off the story mode, there's one last ship level where you shoot things and you fly around and things blow up. Aside from the actual story mode, there's also mini kits to collect, of course, and things to buy, of course, as well as a character customizer, of course. But as far as other game modes go, there are mini games you can unlock and play. So they're all high score based, and I didn't play them all. Although I'm sure I probably did when I was a kid because I had this on the DS when I was a kid and I remember playing through all the mini games and stuff, so. My favorite one is the General Grievous one, where you're moving and jumping and trying to survive for as long as possible through this little tube thingy you're in. Okay, so that's all the content that I played in the game. I'm sure there's more levels or something that, like, more bonus levels. I don't know. That's all.